Culture can be defined as the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. By hearing, reading, or listening to influential stories passed down from generations, such as the grasshopper and the ant, we learn through the morals not to discriminate and to prepare for the future. Othello is a Shakespearean morality play, composed in 1604 and set between 1570 to 1573 during the Ottoman Venetian War. The story centers around Othello, a high-ranking African mercenary employed by the Venetian state, married to a Venetian woman named Desdemona. Othello resides in a culturally unaccepting society and meets his demise to the allegorical vice character Iago. He instills the seeds of doubt and jealousy into his mind. New Boy is an adaptation of Othello published in 2018 by Tracy Chevalier. The tragedy of Othello is transposed to a 1970s Washington schoolyard, where kids fall in and out of love before lunchtime and practice casual racism picked up from the adults around them. The story follows an 11-year-old Ghanaian boy named Jose in a whitewashed school. Like the original, the novel depicts the cultural concepts of navigating feminism and casual racism through a tale of jealousy, manipulation, and revenge. Through Othello, Shakespeare examines the aspect of dominant roles based on the sexual identity of individuals at a time when gender inequality and autocratic relationships were the norm. Although Othello is not an exception, the women in this story are influential characterization of the passive victims to the expectations of men. When Iago encounters Desdemona's father Brabantio, he yells, "Thieves, thieves, thieves! Look at your house, your daughter, and your bag." Desdemona is presented by Iago as a piece of her father's property, insignificant and dehumanized among the cumulatively listed items. Furthermore, after failing to justify Othello's suspected use of witchcraft and the matrimony between him and Desdemona, Brabantio tells Othello to look to her more. If thou hast eyes to see, she has deceived her father, and may thee. Desdemona's rebellion against patriarchy tarnishes her name and permanently cast out, giving a poetic and almost foreshadowing sense. This line is also ironic, as society at that time believed that women need to obey higher male figures, but in this case Desdemona does not. Shakespeare successfully illustrates Elizabethan patriarchal society's expectation, the practice of advantages in patriarchal marriages, and the suppression and restriction of freedom. This makes the readers rethink their expectations and prejudices within the context of the moral traditions and the treatment of women and feminism within the modern society through stories. In New Boy, Tracy Chevalier explores the cultural aspect of gender inequality and feminism, represented through the female characters of Dee and Blanca. Dee describes Mr. Barabant as the kind of teacher always obeyed, the teacher you impressed if you could, which links and alludes to the way she felt about her father, whom she wanted to please when he came in from work. This allusion questions the contemporary audience's view of the behavior of women as those who please or obey men, thus highlighting Othello's illustrations of the patriarchal treatment of women. Furthermore, in Part 4, Blanca says, "It's awful. It's so hard being a girl. You have no idea." The title, "So Hard Being a Girl," forms an ironic hyperbole that exaggerates the character's condition. By showing us the mindsets of Dee and Blanca through the story, Chevalier continues to question contemporary societal views and stereotypes towards the status of women as weak and useless individuals to Blanca with the purpose of pleasing men through Dee. In the play Othello, the theme of race is evident in the relationship between Othello and the Shakespearean society. In the play, Shakespeare associates dark skin with evil, reflecting the Elizabethan cultural stereotypes and xenophobia, perpetuating the view that Africans will not fit in society and were manifestations of the devil. Othello is regarded as an outcast because of this and is called racist terms such as the Black Ram and Barbary Horse, dehumanizing him through the use of zoomorphism and animalistic imagery to the audience. Othello further develops an inferiority complex as a consequence of the continued racism. Even so, my bloody thoughts with violent pace, that a capable and wide revenge swallowed him up. He plots revenge on Desdemona due to his misunderstandings of her supposed affair. In his final words before his death, Othello tells Lodovico that he must speak of one that loved not wisely, but too well, of one not easily jealous but being raw. Through the use of anaphora and of one and juxtaposition, Othello reaffirms himself as a figure who is dehumanized and excluded from Venetian society. Shakespeare questions the casual racism and stereotypes in which Africans were belittled in the play and shows society their actions to the treatment of Othello. This forces us as individuals to reconsider our views on racism and how it impacts people as it still permeates society. In New Boy, the cultural aspect of race is depicted in the treatment of Jose. The protagonist is treated similarly to Shakespeare's Othello. Jose is described through animalistic traits which enforce the idea of a xenophobic society. He was moving now, not like a bear with its lumbering cane, more like a wolf. This statement exemplifies the racial undertones of the use of zoomorphism of natural predators which dehumanizes Jose by his looks. The students also reflect the racism in contemporary society through their comments. Where did he come from? The jungle. The use of hypophora confronts the impulsive actions of the children and how race is perceived by onlookers. Chevalier questions the racism in both courts, in which Africans were differentiated and dehumanized by their appearance in New Boy, and shows society their actions to the treatment of Ose, who represents the victim. This in turn reminds the contemporary audience of and reflects what it is like to be different from those around them. William Shakespeare and Tracy Chevalier utilized their narratives, Othello and New Boy, to reflect cultural aspects relating to the human experiences. They reveal how their conditions influence their narratives and use various literary devices to communicate the messages pertaining to the social issues of racism and gender inequality in both texts, based on the contemporary audience of the time.
If you liked the video, come visit our website at hogarthshakespeare.com.au and buy our merch for only $129 per t-shirt.